All right, now we are live. All right, good evening, everybody. This is we are members of the GEG Hawaii Community coming at you live tonight to talk about creating a paperless curriculum. We'll just quickly introduce ourselves. I'm Mike Fricano. I'm a tech integration specialist for Iolani School in Hawaii. Kaipo, you want to introduce yourself? Tell the viewers who you are.
Yeah, sure. Aloha. My name is Kaipo. I am the technology coordinator at Kekula Kaipuni Anuenue. It's a Hawaiian immersion public school in Palolo Valley. We are K-12, so we have all grade levels. And I'm also the high school math teacher. So I guess I was the one that posed this question.
Yeah, you did. And you seem to wear many hats, too, in your position.
Yeah, our school we're a small school, small budget, so everybody kind of does a lot of things. After going to the Google Summit twice, this past year was my second time, I was able to bring some staff members, a vice principal, a librarian, and some others, and I just felt more inspired to really push the limits in paperless classrooms.
That's great.
The Chromebooks are getting cheaper, they're getting more user-friendly. I've actually decided to purchase, I think, I'm probably about 30 or 40 of them for next school year. But I wanted to redesign my Algebra 1 classroom for 9th grade next school year using game dynamics and different Google Classroom, different online resources, free resources, of course. But I really wanted to know how local teachers, local educators are using it. I know everyone in the world is doing it at some point, but I want to know how teachers here are using it with our students in Hawaii, and what are the reactions from the students and their fellow administrators and coworkers?
Great. Well, hopefully we can answer that question tonight. Before we move on, hey, Jung, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Aloha. My name is Jung, and I work at University Laboratory School as a math teacher, and also at Kapiolani Community College, and I teach algebra at University Lab School. So, Kaipo, your question was kind of right up my alley, so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. And Christina, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Christina. I'm an English teacher. I teach 7th and 9th grade English at the lab school as well. I just recently did a GAF Summit presentation on how I use Google Classroom in my at my school, and pretty much every day, because we're one-to-one in the 7th and 9th grade. So that's why when I saw the question pop up, I was like, this is a thing I know about. I can respond to something, yay. So then I tagged Haijang because I know that she does it too, and actually in math, so I figured that would be better.
Thank you.
Great, yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. So we all are members of the GEG Hawaii Community, and it looks like we have 3 live viewers right now, so we appreciate the live viewership out there. Just a couple things for our live viewers out there. We do have a Google document that we're using to gather our show notes for tonight, and the link is here. It's bit.ly/GEGH paperless. I believe it is case sensitive, so be careful of that. So if you want to visit our show notes document, everything that we're going to share tonight will be in that document, and that document will exist after tonight. And it is open to the public, and it's open for commenting as well. So if any of our viewers out there want to share or add any of their own resources or tips and tricks for paperless curriculum, feel free to toss in a comment into the document, and we'll make sure that gets added into the document. So you can join us there. And we also have the Q&A app available for our live viewers as well. So if you want to ask a question or participate in the discussion, you can use the Q&A app. Just type in your question and your comment and add it to the Q&A, and we'll try to address it throughout tonight's Hangout. Awesome. So I'll keep that link up below my face there for a little while for our viewers out there. And yeah, so Kaipo, you posed the question on the GEG Hawaii Community. Was it last week or the week before?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you know, Google Apps is a great way to go paperless. And so you're purchasing a cart of Chromebooks?
Yeah, so one of our teachers, luckily he had done the donors choose, so he got a bunch of Samsung Chromebooks. So that was great. I'm happy for him. And then Shamanad had donated more to us. So now we have this one cart full of Chromebooks. So he's really pushing the limits. I hope he's watching and listening to this. But I'm very happy for him that he's doing that, and it's kind of jump-starting our school to kind of how's this work, how's this looking, how is the classroom going to react to this, how the students reacting to this. And from what his observations are, the kids do like it. The kids enjoy it. They love to be on the computers and like to try things. But now the question is, how can we utilize the computers, the Chromebook, the Chrome OS, the Chrome browser, to be efficient? Not just go on the computer, jump on. Now what do we do? You know what I'm saying? I guess best practices. That's more of my concern. Is what are best practices? And as the school year is already closing, I'm already trying to think ahead for next school year. And to me, it's kind of late already. It's April. I gotta start planning. So I just kind of want to see how everyone's doing. But I have a few other teachers who are interested in having Chromebooks for the classroom. So I'm trying to just spend them up and buy it. But I want to be sure I'm ready to train them. I'm ready to show them examples of how it's successful. Not just try it out, go ahead. Like, here are some techniques that really do work.
Great, and you know, I think Chromebooks are a good option. They're cheap, right? They're pretty sturdy, and they're really simple to use. And it's a great way to get started in the goal of truly going paperless, of saving trees and doing everything online in the cloud with collaboration built in. It's a great option. So we've each kind of gathered some of our own resources that we either got from the GATH Summit or on our own. And we've got some ideas and tips and examples to share from our own schools on how we can go paperless in the classroom. So does anybody want to go first? Is anyone dying to share anything specific from the show notes?
I can go first.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. We're all like, do we want to go first? So just to give a little background about how I use it, our 8th grade at University Laboratory School, their math, actually most of our math classes at University Laboratory School are paperless. And we started it kind of a few years back when we started rolling out one-to-one pilot projects and whatnot. So I'm going to do a quick screen share, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So give me 1 second. Okay, so what you are looking at is my class. So I teach 2 classes at University Lab School and then the rest at KCC. So they're on different Google Apps and education systems. But I have Classroom for all of them. And the way I structure my 8th graders, so this is my period 4, all assignments go out on Classroom. So you create assignments. And for me, because I'm teaching 2 sections, it's really nice that I can click here and just add an assignment for both of my sections at the same time instead of doing it and then going to my other Google Classroom to do the same assignment. And then I don't really use the whole submit, unsubmit as much on the homework assignments as I do on the tests. So if I scroll through, I also do testing, like quizzes and tests and everything is done through. So the first thing is I have to prepare a document for me to attach for every student to get a copy. So before Google Classroom, I had to create the form, the students had to go into their drive, make a copy of it, and then rename it and make sure it's in the folder that's shared with me. And it was an entire day to just set up that for the entire year. Like once it was set up, then they got used to it. But the nice thing about Google Classroom is that there's no need to spend time at the beginning of the year setting up everything. Once you have a classroom and once your students join, you can, it automatically will create a folder in your drive and also on their drive. So it's already organized and you can play with how you want to label it and whatnot. So if I click here, I have all of their tests. And you can see done, done, done if they forgot to turn it in. It's late and whatnot. And it's really nice because if I go into my drive I just open up the classroom. So within my drive, I have this classroom folder that's already made, and it has all my assignments on here. So if I want to look at a test, I have one folder already created. I didn't have to do this on my own, and then it has all of these. So it's a really nice tool as a teacher for me to have, because it saves me time on what I need to do in terms of the setup initially. I would say it takes a little bit for students to get used to, but once they're used to it, like, they tell me things like, oh, Miss Kim, I did it on another document. Do I have to go and do it? And they saw the add button. Like, they'll tell you a lot of things. So for teachers who are considering going paperless and utilizing Google Classroom, I just say go for it and see like what you can learn from your students.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of going paperless, Classroom is the ultimate tool for that, and it streamlines that whole sharing process and digitally passing out files and worksheets and documents and things like that. I mean, it pretty much automates that whole process for you, makes it super easy. Christina, you presented on a Google Classroom at the GAF Summit?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome.
So I will screen share too, and everything I'm going to show right now, it's just 2 slides from the presentation I did, and it's on. I put it on the little show notes that Michael has in the corner of his screen, so you can head over and check that out. But okay, let's see what it shares with you guys. Okay, hopefully it's this window. Okay, so I hope I'm screen sharing, and I hope you're seeing this. Okay, excellent. So yeah, this was one of the first slides I showed, and I will be honest in that I am a very messy teacher. I'm very messy in my life. You can only see my fridge behind me, and there's a reason for that. I'm a messy teacher. So going paperless helped me a lot because we actually share classrooms at ULS. So it made it a lot easier than having to carry around carts of paper, which I was nervous about. And also I actually got from another GAF presenter, I'm totally blanking on his name, he's from Laguna Beach though, and he talked about the use of space, that having decluttered classrooms can improve test scores and on-task behavior by 10%, which I thought was a really interesting thing. But the biggest thing I wanted to share was this. So this is actually how I have translated paper to Google Classroom with my kids each day. I'll make worksheets for my kids, but now instead of having to print them out and make make 56 copies for a class between my 2 7th grade classes, for example, I just assign it on Google Doc and each student gets a copy. And then when I want to hand out a prompt for an essay, I make it a classroom announcement instead. Group projects, and I think the math department does this a lot too. I will just throw up a set of slides just like this onto Google Classroom, and there's a function that says all students can edit, and they will all jump on and sort of make different classes. I can even do portfolios this way, so I'll just assign the portfolio, and then like Jung commented on, students can tell really easily what I didn't realize. So when I realized that I hadn't given them an assignment, I hadn't attached anything, they were like, oh no, don't worry, we can add it. And I was like, oh, I had no idea you could add it. So thanks kids for teaching me that because I didn't know. So yeah, I just also wanted to definitely agree, half the time my kids point stuff out to me that I didn't even think about. One thing I will recommend is I actually had another math teacher at our school, Stephanie Capon. She added me to one of her math classes just so I could see the student perspective, and I found that to be really helpful because one of the things about Google Classroom is I can't go in as a student. I can only see the teacher's perspective, so I can't see the different buttons my kids have, or I can't see what functionality they have. So being able to be in a classroom as a student was really helpful. But yeah, those are two of the things. I've even been able to do discussions though. So I'll put up an article, and then one homework assignment was read the article and respond in the comments, like 3 to 5 sentences. It was about chicken cage sizes, so they had to respond to that. So yeah, those are just some of the things I did. I'm also happy to answer questions. That was just a really brief overview, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Classroom is great for those online discussions. I actually just posted a new blog post today about how you can have online discussions in Google Classroom, and the comment thread is really great because it's all built in the Classroom, and you can use the mention feature to mention certain students or or the students can mention each other as they're having a discussion. So that's really useful, really powerful too.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about Google Classroom because it's super easy to set up. It's super easy to use. As Jung mentioned earlier, it generates the folders for the students and the teacher. It attaches students' names to the end of file names. So it uses a whole, it has its own naming convention built into it. So it makes it really easy to manage and do all those kinds of things. Are there any other tools that you guys are familiar with? Other websites or applications that can be very useful in a paperless classroom?
Well, one thing I saw, so at I think it was Dewey Gottlieb, the state math person. He had shared, it was either one of his workshops or it could have been Google Summit last year, Desmos.com. So in the Google Docs, I included the link to Desmos.com. This is more for the geeky people, math teachers, whatever. But Desmos.com is an online graphing calculator. It's a free graphing calculator, but it does connect with Google, especially if you're Google School. So I've been using it with my middle school students last year for pre-algebra, and I've been using it again with my 9th grade and 12th graders, my Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 courses, and they've been enjoying it. We haven't used it at the full potential, but what I like about it is, you can play with the graphs, dynamically. You can change it. You don't have to worry about the kids drawing, hand drawing, finding parabolas, finding cubic functions. They can see the results right then and there. You can add photos. You can make it into an entire project all in one area. But what I discovered is, if you log in with your Google account, you can actually save files, save a document, or I can save a template and shoot it out to the kids, and they can work on this one worksheet on Desmos.com. So for me, I thought that was awesome. I haven't used the save feature with my students yet, but when I'm going to this paperless classroom, I can do more graphing. We can do more what we call linear regressions, any type of regressions really, and have it available. Students can save their work, and they can send me a copy. But I thought that was really cool, and I had used it for my Google Hangout on Air last year for the PD credit. So I did one on that. I should include my Google site that talks about how I use Desmos in my classroom, but I also used it for one of my ethnomathematics lesson plans. That's another subject, but I had used that to create what do you call or Makahiki, the Makahiki games. I had my students, or it's just a lesson plan I didn't implement it yet, where they had to find the correct quadratic formula to shoot what we call an ihe, which is a spear, to the banana stump. So I actually had a picture of a banana stump on there, and they had to figure out the right parabola. So I thought it was really cool, and I can't wait to try it out someday.
Cool. So Desmos connects to your Google account, and it'll save its graphing files in your drive so that you can access them easily. It's
an option. You have to select that you want to save it into your Google Drive.
So opening that file in Drive will just take you out to the Desmos site where you can. Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's very useful. So, hey, Jung, I don't know if you tried it, and anybody else, any math teachers out there, definitely try Desmos. It's one of my favorite.
Yeah. So I'm gonna share one really quick. So
yeah, please do. Can you take like screens of your graphs and like embed them or insert them into Google Docs and things like that?
Ooh.
Like screenshot it or?
Oh yeah,
is that a possibility?
Yeah, screenshotting and then putting it back in. I haven't done that one yet. So I logged in. For any math teachers who are out there, you don't have to create your own. There are, like, you can just search through what people have created as well. So there's a lot happening. Your puppy is so cute, by the way. I'm so distracted. So this is a transformation of functions that I have made for my college students. And so whereas before I would have had to like have them hand draw multiple graphs to see what happens, now I just have like little commands here. They can all access this and then try it out. So I have prompts for them to answer, along with, like, I wanted to leave it up to them to input any kind of function and make it more interactive. So type in any function that's nonlinear, I don't know. They can just type in any function that they choose, and this creates room for discussion, which is good for Common Core. So if this is used in other settings, in the K-12 setting, it's very useful to have all those Common Core mathematical practices to be in action in class naturally instead of kind of imposing. So once they do that, they can just see what happens. And as they go through, they can see what happens when you negate that function. And you can like turn things off. So I have it so that they don't see all the graphs all at once. So I always tell them to unclick the one before and then compare the original to this one. What do you notice? And then what happens when you do both? So it's a very visual way. And then Kaipo mentioned this earlier, kind of playing with it, right? Like the whole, like you don't have to graph 10 different graphs. You can just grab the slider and see what it does, and it happens here, so you can see it right away. And then similarly, I have multiple sliders, and my intention for this was for us to not, like for me to not just force feed them information, but for them to play with it and see what they get, and then for us to discuss after the fact. So all my college algebra students have gone through this, and they just write down what they observe, and then we get a chance to talk about it in more detail, just to go over it as a class as well. So they notice things and then write them down, and then it leaves room for discussion. And it's just so powerful to have this set, and once you have it set, you can use it semester after semester. You just need to give them the access to your page, and you, like Kaipo said, once you're signed in, you can save all those graphs. And then it's just a cool tool, like just leave it open to your students at one point, like after learning all the different types of functions and whatnot, and have them create stuff. Like you can create animations using these, and it's really cool to kind of just see what they can come up with after giving them just a little bit.
Yeah, to add on to that, hey Jung, I know, I think, I don't know if you ever met, I can't remember her name right now, but one of the interns at LCC, and she had created, using Desmos, a moon phase calendar with an actual moon and the sun.
Catherine Walker.
Catherine, yeah, sorry Catherine if you're listening to me, I'm calling you. But she really created crazy functions, and you press play, and then you'll see the moon phases, and you'll see the graph go through all the trigonometric functions. It's really insane. But I do agree on that. It's good discussion work. You don't show the kids 40 problems of the same graph written differently in a textbook. Now you have live stuff. Now you have open discussion, and you can have more richness in what the kids see, what they talk about. And what I like is the kids would never have the same answer. Yeah, they might, but you can explain why. Why did you both get the same question or the same answer? So I really like Desmos, especially I have a smart board, so they're really good with smart boards. Or making boards, if you have those, they're great. They're great.
Yeah, I was going to echo a little bit of what both of you were saying as far as like letting kids play. One of the things I talked about as far as just Google overall is how creative and innovative my kids get when you just give them a little. So I use Google Draw all the time in my classroom, from anything from sentence labeling and dictation is what we call grammar at the school. So anything from dictation, and so they'll label sentences on there. But when I think of something like we do independent reading book projects, and I just tell the kids go. If like I give them some examples, so I gave them Powtoon as a way to animate, and I told them about WeVideo and things like that. But I had one kid use Google Slides, and each slide was a different frame in an animation, and he essentially did a flip book, but it was like a 500 slide flip book that he used in Google Drawings. It was amazing. I was baffled by it. It was so cool. And I would never have thought to use Google Slides that way, but he figured out how to do it all on his own. He says he does it for fun sometimes now, which is, again, mind-boggling to me. But yeah, so he'll just make animations with his friends or things like that. So just sort of giving kids the structure of this is what I need from you, and then letting them have, Kaipo, I know if you're thinking in the future of like what can we do on Chromebook, besides the efficiency aspect, I think too just letting them explore how they want to do stuff. Now, like, I'll give them vocab words, and I'll be like, okay, 4 people at your table, you have a slide, show me how you're going to remember this word, and they will use GIFs. They will come up with Google drawings for their mnemonics and things like that and throw it on the slide. And then we have a class set of vocab words with a bunch of funny ways for them to remember like vocab flashcards with a bunch of funny ways for them to remember the words. So just seeing them be innovative like that, because even though I'm pretty good with tech and, you know, I'm a digital native and all those things, they're far beyond my skills already. So just giving them the space to play is it's really cool to see them do it. They teach me stuff most of the time now.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know, when I went to Juan DeLuca's session on, he talked about different apps that you can use on a Chromebook, and you know, there's the whole argument that, you know, there's some things you just can't do on a Chromebook, and you can do them better on a you know, Windows or a MacBook, and you know, he kind of proved that theory wrong by sharing a bunch of different apps that you can, a bunch of different Chrome apps that you can use, and so you could technically do all the same things that you could do on a MacBook on a Chromebook with free Chrome apps, which is, you know, pretty amazing. I mean, he talked about, you know, there's like WeVideo for video editing. There was one I'm trying to look for. Oh, there's one called Soundtrap, all one word, and it's basically a cloud-based GarageBand. So you can, and it has built-in a musical instrument, so you can record your own voice, you know, record a soundtrack, play with the musical instruments in the app, and create your own song. It's pretty amazing what you can do with a Chromebook, and not have to pay for it. And it's you know, it's practically all connected to your Google Apps account, so you don't have to worry about, you know, remembering different usernames and passwords, and you just connect everything to that one account, and you're good to go. It makes it really convenient.
I had a question for.
Sorry, that's my dog. Mute myself.
Sorry. Yeah, I had a question for anybody. I guess when it comes to formative assessments and summative assessments, you know, we all got to do data. We all have, most of us have SLOs and all those good things. For, I guess, math in particular, English too, especially with open response questions, how would you manage that in Google Classroom? Or I know there's Flubaroo, I know there's Doctopus, I think is the correct app. I know I have add-ons for math equations, but how would you do that in that setting?
Yeah. Christina and I attended Molly's session on Gubrick, and I've just been having a blast with that. For those of you who are watching in, I did post Molly's resources in the Paperless Curriculum Hangout that Mike has up on his, So if you go to the bit.ly, there's an entire section that I put up, and it's not mine, it's Molly's, but if you go to it, she kind of walks you through the steps of how to use Doctopus and also Gubrick, which is a Chrome extension, together to grade these assignments with the rubric attached to it, and it has changed my life. Like I just graded their most recent test using it, and it's like, whereas before I had to look at all the tests again after the fact, after I graded everything. Like I usually comment on things to see, like to tell them like, oh, you had it right until this point, this is where you went wrong, this is the grade that you get because of that. Now it's all there. So once I assign the grade, they can see a description of what they did. So this whole notion of like when accreditation happens, we have to look back at things and then make a copy and redo some of these like feedback that we've already given. I have all of that in one place, and I have to really thank Molly for sharing with me that aspect of like how to use, because I didn't know. So I used to like put headers up and then like put my own grades in, the reasons why, and like impose that, and it took me so much time to put that all in. But now once you create the rubric, I mean, it's like a procedure that you have to follow. But once you do that, you can just go through it. And then the cool feature that Molly shared with us when we were in the session was that now there's like a little voice recording section. So if you want to give them feedback and you want to talk to them about it, you can just record your voice and they can hear it too. So there's just so many ways to document what's happening, and then they can go back in and correct things, and you can regrade it. It'll keep track of how many times you've regraded, so you don't have to, like, you know, make your own note of, did you regrade this student's tests and then not this one's. There's a count going on. There's just so many things. And then during class, I like to do like pop quizzes, because sometimes, you know, kids are gonna drift, and you're gonna lose half the class at some point. And just to get them all back, and just to make sure that they're listening, and just to make sure that I should be moving on, or I should be staying in the topic, I've been using Flubaroo, and sometimes they're just like, Miss Kim, how did you grade 28 and send it out in 5 minutes? Like, it blows their mind that I can do it so quick. I know, I'm like, it's magic. I'm totally capable of doing everything that you can imagine because I'm your teacher. So it's been really nice to have that feedback. It's good for me because I can kind of gauge where their understanding is, because they might be like, other than being off task and not listening, they might be listening and they might like think that they understand everything that's happening, but it's good to have that check of like, do they really understand it? Is it like, are misconceptions forming as we go? And you can catch it right then and there in the middle of class, and it only takes like 2 minutes of your time really quick to see that they're like on the same level or getting close enough so that you can move ahead. And once again, that's all documented in a spreadsheet automatically.
Yeah.
So
it's a really great spreadsheet add-on that I mean, it practically automates the entire grading process for you. It's amazing what it does. Another really good one that kind of does the same thing is called Super Quiz. Have you guys ever heard of that one?
Mm-hmm.
So that one, it's basically the same thing as Flubaroo, but it has the added benefit of providing feedback specific to each question. So if a student gets a specific question wrong, you can give them feedback on that specific question rather than feedback, general feedback for the entire quiz. So that's another really great spreadsheet add-on that it completely automates the whole grading process. So it can grade through your entire class in a matter of minutes. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I was just going to say for CFUs, so for checks for understanding, I'll even just have them I'll just throw up a quick assignment on Google Classroom, and I'll put a timer up on the clock. So for sentence labeling, for example, I'll be like, write me a sentence that has a linking verb and a subject complement. And they all have to write on a Google drawing. And the nice thing, and she showed, Jung showed it in Classroom, is since everything is in a folder, I can actually just put it on preview mode and click through and just see all the sentences really easily. Which made my process, so like, while they were talking with each other, I would just quickly scroll through and be like, oh, here's a sentence, let's take a look at it. The other nice thing, too, I wanted to point out about, just one of the great things about Rubrics is it's just so clearly designed by a teacher, because it will automatically go to the next, for me, the next essay. Yeah. So it was so good. It just knows me in that special way where it's like, yes, I do just want to scroll through this whole folder of things. But also for any English teachers, if you have a shared rubric in your department, or math might be the same way, if you have a shared rubric for written responses, it's so nice to be able to just have that rubric, and you can attach it to multiple assignments instead of having to make a copy for each kid, which I used to have to do in other apps. Like Hapara, I would have to make a copy for each kid and then fill in that rubric for each kid, which was, just time-consuming. Here I just type it in and it automatically has it, and it adds it to the bottom of the paper and emails them if I want, and so many good things. Anyway.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really amazing. Yeah, so there's some really great add-ons out there that are very beneficial for the teachers. Makes it really easy to manage things, really convenient and efficient. So those are some really great add-ons to check out for your teachers, Kaipo, if you're exploring those kinds of things. So I mean, you could practically put make your entire grade book paperless too. which is really great. I don't have an example of it, but at my former school, Milani Ike Elementary School, there was a teacher that, typically your grade level would have their entire curriculum, their lesson plan, their units, all laid out, maybe in some kind of binder or some kind of Word file or something. So this one teacher last school year, he transitioned all of the PDFs and Word files over to Google Docs, and then he created a Google site for his grade level and put the entire curriculum with assessments, rubrics, student samples, and exemplars all in Drive and on this site. So their entire curriculum is now in the cloud, accessible from any device that has an internet connection. So I thought that was, that's kind of the extreme. It took them a lot of work to get those things to transition over to Drive, but makes it really convenient for the teacher because now they don't have to take these binders home every night when they're planning for the week or for the next day. I wish I could show you guys that example, but I don't have access to it anymore.
Oh, I like that idea. Thank you. My principal did ask me something, asked for a similar request, so I have more ideas popping in my head.
Yeah. I mean, even though I would say, like, even the concept of getting it up, yeah, I think this is legal for things that I put online. The concept of a PDF used to be for me like I had to go find a scanner, but I realize now that with smartphones, I frankly take a photo of it and I can turn that photo into a PDF really easily. So I will do that with, curriculum documents, occasionally with articles that I promise I'm using for educational use, or pages from a book. Or so, for example, my kids had to write the final chapter of The Giver, so I took a photo of the last page of The Giver, and I was like, "This is the last page of The Giver. I need you to write the next chapter of this book." But that way they didn't all have to take home a book. I didn't have to make 56 copies of the last page of The Giver. It was a PDF online. So just using and I would say actually Classroom's been great for that. My kids can respond with photos too, which is really cool. Because Classroom has a smartphone app, which is also great because I take the bus places, so I just sometimes do assignments on the bus, which is nice. But yeah, like putting stuff online is so much easier too because your phone can just automatically connect everything to Drive and upload it as a PDF. So yeah, scanning stuff can even go faster because it's just click, click, click. Versus scanning a ton of things.
Yeah, and also for the students' perspective, it's really nice for teachers and for students because especially for math, so all I know is a math classroom. So when you move on from year to year and you're like, oh, remember like in 6th grade or in 7th grade when you learned this? And they're like all looking at you like, miss. No, I don't remember anything from that grade. Now you can be like, okay, search for whatever concept or whatever definition, and within their Drive, it'll populate like, okay, so this is a problem set, this is a homework assignment that had that definition or document in there. And for our students at University Laboratory School, it's all written in their words. So when they look things up, it's them refreshing their mind on what they said a year ago or 2 years ago. So everything becomes searchable instead of, typically in a math classroom, if you do everything on paper, that entire folder is going to be burnt at the end of the semester or tossed in some trash can or just left at the school, right? We have binders full of
This
stuff.
is all true.
They don't care. They're like, Miss, I passed. I'm done with this. I never want to deal with this again. Whereas if you do everything in classroom, they have it. Whether they want it or not, whether they want to review it or not, it's there. So it's one of the benefits for students and also for us.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. I have another question, and I guess an extension question. So it sounds like University Lab School, I know you guys said you have a bunch of grade levels that are paperless, and that's great. That's my vision for my school. We're K-12. I would love that students can have portfolios starting 1st grade, and when they graduate high school, like you have all this saved up, especially now that Google Educations are unlimited data, unlimited space. Mahalo. Thank you guys. But how was it with training your staff? Because I guess so. I have my two hats: tech coordinator and math teacher. How was it getting your staff on board? When I guess you have enough teachers where kids move from grade level to grade level to new teachers. How was that for the teacher's sake?
Hi, Jen. This is my first year at the lab school, so I can talk a little bit about my department is pretty split between me and my department chair, Mary Beth, Mary Beth Baldwin is clearly very good at tech. And then we have two teachers who don't really use it. But I don't know, how does it look from year to year, Jung? Because you've been there much longer than me.
Yeah, so it's nice that University Lab School, we have days of professional development where half day or full day, or like instead of having a faculty meeting, we'll have tech days where they can come in and ask questions. And what I really believe and what I've seen happen is it's not the same teachers or administrators who are going up there saying like, this is how you use it, this is how you do things. It's kind of within. So if somebody has a question, some other teacher can answer. So it's more like let's share, and if somebody has a question, we'll get it answered. It doesn't have to be the tech coordinator who's answering that question, but just providing a space and time for teachers to be together and for them to kind of go through like, this is what I need. Is it possible for us to do it in this way? And for us, it's just like different teachers have cycled through and presented on different topics. So I think that helps a lot when it's not just coming from one source who's like totally involved and wants to see this happen, but also from teachers who are like trying little things. Like at the last faculty meeting, our elementary teacher, one of the elementary teachers said, this is great, because when SBAC came around and they had to do things on the computer, our students, it wasn't their first time being on the computer. So it took away that part of like getting used to using a computer because they already tried it and they've already had access to it. So I think not only for us as teachers, but also for students' sake, because they're gonna have to. But in terms of training the teachers, some will come from tech coordinators, but a lot of it I think is just having the opportunity to ask questions and to answer it within the staff.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say the other thing that I've seen just in my department, because, yeah, we're kind of split in, like, two of us use tech for everything, and then two folks are just, you know, one of them's been at the school for 30 years, so he doesn't need me to teach him anything. But as far as, like, how to use tech in his room, one of the things I've noticed about Bill Teeter, Mr. Teeter especially, he's one of my favorite people, is even though he's like a 30-year teaching veteran, I think for him, because the kids were asking for it, he implemented it into his classroom. So even and I don't think he was necessarily reluctant about it anyway, but I think for him it was like, computers, what, like, how am I going to use this? I haven't had to use this before. I think he let the kids really guide him on these are ways that we could use it. And so they started asking for stuff, and since our kids felt empowered to show him stuff, they feel empowered to show me stuff. It really creates an environment where it's a lot less of me doing everything, because now sometimes when kids ask me stuff, they'll yell out the question and I'll just say, like, turn to someone next to you. Like, why are you asking me? Someone else is going to have a better answer to that question than I am.
Before me.
Yes, yeah, I do a lot of that with them now, or even now with little questions. So we're reading Omnivore's Dilemma, which is the young reader's version, which is a nonfiction text, very sciencey. So they'll ask me stuff, and I'll be like, you have the most powerful thing at your fingertips right now. Why are you asking me? I'm a theater English major. I have no idea. And so they'll just Google it, and then they'll share the answer with the class, and it's a really good way for them to feel like not only that they feel empowered with their learning, but I think, too, as far as, like, training teachers, letting students train them really makes kids feel like they're an active part of that process. And I think it brings a nice level of student voice and empowerment to a school when it's like, oh, we're going to have this 7th grader show the teachers how to use Tour Builder. I think that happened at the last GAF Summit, where Mary Beth had a bunch of our 6th and 7th graders present something, because a bunch of them were telling me about it this year. So I think that's a really nice touch, too, that a school can do.
Yeah, I've seen, since 2 years ago, I've seen a lot of discussion, a lot of examples of these student-led tech clubs and tech assistant groups at schools. that it's that students that are providing the tech support for faculty and staff, which is it's pretty amazing. It's giving them a responsibility and allowing them to flex their skills and demonstrate what they've learned. And then for me, I came from a tech coordinator position myself at a public elementary school, and I serve as a tech specialist now. And so a lot of what I do is helping teachers to integrate technology. And I learned a couple years ago from an Apple workshop about this bell curve of different levels of technology adoption with teachers. And so you have these teachers that are they're outliers on one side that will take anything and just go with it, and you really don't have to do anything with them. You just let them go on their own. And then you have outliers in the other direction, where they're teachers that just don't want to change and aren't willing to budge and always put up a fight, and they always put up a wall. And those you just don't mess with. I mean, you're not going to change their mind. You're not going to convince them on your own. And then you have the ones in the middle that are kind of on the edge, right? They're willing, they're skeptical, but they see some value in it, and they're just trying to find it, the easiest way to adopt some kind of new technology or new way of doing something in the classroom. And those are the ones that you really want to focus on. And then when I started as a tech coordinator, I was also the computer teacher. So what we kind of did, and you guys kind of hit on this already, was I just trained the students. I bypassed the teachers and taught the students how to use Google Apps, how to use Google Drive, how to log in, all the different tools that they have accessible to them. And slowly but surely, those students started to put the pressure on the teachers. Why can't I use this to do my project? Why can't we do it this way? Why can't I access it online? And so that gradual pressure, then I started having teachers coming to me asking me, well, my students are asking me about this. How can I do this? And so that was another way that I found was kind of helpful. When you put the power in the students' hands, eventually the rest of the school kind of comes around. And of course, it's also extremely important to have your administration on board, when you're adopting new technology and things like that. So if you don't have it, if administration isn't on board and they're not using it themselves, then what's the point of the teachers using it, right? Okay, so anything else in our show notes that you guys want to share? I see, Kaipo, you had some things up there about class badges and code.org.
Yeah, so those are just some things that I just been researching and things I did pick up from the conference, either Apple Conference, Google Summit, or different math workshops. But I did attend the Schools of the Future conference last November, and I kind of felt the theme was game dynamics. I was a guest speaker, the opening keynote. The first workshop I went to, she talked about game dynamics, and she talked about Minecraft and how she included with her research at the university, I think Southern California. I'm not sure what, somewhere in California though. So I was like, okay, I need to try this game dynamics. And our middle school English teacher at my school, he loves tabletop games. Like he loves role-playing games, RPGs. So, and he decided that he would model his 6th to 8th grade. So on UNUA, we have one teacher, one subject. So you are the department head, and you're the department itself. So he had grades. Well, actually, he had grades 5 through 8 this year. So 4 grade levels English, and we are Hawaiian immersion. So the kids learn English formally grade 5, aka kindergarten level, 1st grade level English at 5th grade, because we are Hawaiian immersion. So he decided to model his grade levels as an RPG, where the students, for the different requirements, sorry, Christina, I'm not an English person, but I know you have different types of writing styles you have to do, different types of essays, different vocabularies you have to use. So have one project or one homework assignment where the kids will have to develop their characters, and they have to use different sentence patterns or different story structures to develop their characters and slowly work their way up. I'm sorry?
I said I love that so much. That's such a cool.
I will give you his name after. I think he has a total collaborator. He loves teaching. He loves teaching English to the kids. So I was like, I gotta try this. I have to make it into a game. I love video games myself. I have a PS4 and PS3, but I could never figure out how to take that and put it in the classroom. So for class badges, I'm I know one of the closing keynote speakers at the Google Summit this year, he said, I can't remember his name, Michael, you might remember, but he had said that he helped create
James Sanders?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think he said he founded this class badges, but the company was purchased by another company. So I figured I'd check it out. And what I liked about class badges is it's, I guess, your modern day 21st century gold star, red star, blue star sticker on the board next to your name. But I felt it was more positive where it's not shared amongst the whole class. The kids can't see, oh, John got 2 stars and Stephanie got 20 stars, you know? And the badges can be unique. The teacher creates them, so I can create a badge for accurately measuring with the protractor. I can create a badge for speaking Hawaiian 3 times in one day. You know, and I can all these different badges, and I could contribute these badges. One, they're positive reinforcements. The kids won't see the negative comments and negative ideas. It's just how much badges you got, and somehow incorporate that into the classroom game setting. I'm also reading this book. I don't have it on my resources, but I'll try to include it, from Lee Sheldon. It's called The Multiplayer Classroom. So how you create the classroom as a video game, instead of percentages for grades, use experience points. Okay, so I just started reading it, so I figured, okay, I'm going to try class badges. Kahoot, I don't know if some of you have ever heard of Kahoot. It's a formative assessment website. I love it. I'm so glad my vice principal showed it to our school, and they love it. Our school is going nuts with it. So I tried it with my seniors, and all you need is, the students need an internet-capable, internet-accessible device. So my seniors, they all have smartphones, so I allow them to bring their smartphones. It's not allowed in school unless directed by the teacher, just to make it clear to anyone from my school. So I do allow my seniors to use that. And our quiz time, so it's a quiz. The question pops up. You have multiple choice, but it's based on game dynamics. So the kids get points based on accuracy, if they get the correct answer, and how fast. The first time I tried it, I just told the kids, you're not getting a grade. I just want to see how it works, and they loved it. They tried hard. Couple of them don't like Algebra 2, but they still wanted to try because they wanted those high score points. It was amazing. But the best part about Kahoot, if you guys can try, I don't have anything saved on my desktop, so I can't show you anything. But Kahoot, when you're done with the assessment, when the quiz is done, and they encourage it to be 10 questions, no more than 15, you can export into Google Drive, into a Google spreadsheet, all the data. And it's beautifully made pivot tables. They'll show every student what questions they got right, wrong, red or green. I love Kahoot, so I want to try and incorporate those game scores, because you can get 10,000 points, I think, if you get everything right. I want to try and incorporate that into my classroom. And code.org, I just recently started doing with my after-school tutoring group for technology. And it never dawned on me, but coding is all about logic, math, if-then statements, forever loops. And it's a fun thing. Like, kids they love video games. Now you're going to create your own. Some of them have a hard time, but that's the idea. You want the kids to struggle, but they're going to see the end product. So code.org, I just started. Today I had the kids go on one of the code games, and it was, you had the Frozen characters, Big Hero 6 characters, and they had to play with attack each other or touch snowflakes or something, different puzzles. But I want to try and incorporate this into my math classroom and just get away from the textbooks, get away from the paper stuff, and just get going. Try things out, experience. That's, I think, the best time for a student to learn is through their experience when the teacher is quiet. So I'm trying to not talk as much anymore.
That's great.
Yes,
that's great.
That's my explanations.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, all those things combined can make for a very engaging classroom, and we need to give students that experience. We need to engage them and get them interested in the learning and be able to grab their attention. One thing I noticed, I don't know if they added this recently, but it seems like at the end of a Kahoot game, you can gauge your user's interest in the assessment. So it'll ask them, like, how effective was this assessment based on a happy face or a sad face, or you can pick from a scale. So I love that. That's a pretty interesting way to, at the end of a formative assessment, ask your students, was this a good quality formative assessment? Did it really push your thinking to the limits? You know, did it really help you to understand what you learned today? So I thought that was a pretty cool feature. But yeah, I love how it gathers the evidence and the data at the end, and you can export it. That's really powerful. Cool. All right, all great ideas. We're coming up on the hour here, so I think we're going to end it here. Do you guys have any last bits of things that you wanted to share? No?
No, thanks for Kahoot. Sorry, I was playing with it while you were talking.
Nah, it's okay.
I did that thing, but it's really cool.
It's fun, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So yeah, it's really cool.
We tried to use it. We played Kahoot at one of our Christmas parties with adults. Because you don't have to do it for school, but it's really cool. It's actually really fun.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you three for coming on. I appreciate you taking time out of your weekday evening to come on and talk about a paperless classroom. Really appreciate it. We had a handful of live viewers, so we appreciate those people sticking with us and watching live. And of course, this will be recorded and archived on YouTube for later viewing. And the show notes will exist until the end of Google. So feel free to check those out and check out all the resources that we've shared. But I think we'll end it here. Thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you to you guys. And have a good night. We appreciate you watching with us.
Hello.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Michael, for organizing.
Yeah, thanks, guys.